Last night was, by the way, once we learned early in the show yesterday, whenever we saw that Lamar Jackson was questionable with a quad, with a lot more important games ahead of them, the original conversation for us was, hey, they should rest Lamar Jackson, right? But then Diggs informed us that just a couple years ago, they got rid of doubtful and questionable and out.
So they got rid of probable.
There it is.
So now they have questionable and doubtful.
There it is. So there's only two really genres of injury. So then we learned that Lamar Jackson was coming. And minus 16.5, we all agreed towards the end of the show, seemed like this is going to be a pretty easy thing. Then that game gets started, gets early. By the way, our guy Justin Tucker missed an extra point. A lot of people were texting or tweeting me, telling me this is our fault. It's not our fault.
No.
He got around a little bit quick. He got that miss out of the way. Now the games are going to be important. But by the way, he was trending. This is what I said whenever I introduced him. When this guy misses, it's big deal. He started trending from missing an extra point. People are missing extra points at a rapid rate right now. When Justin Tucker does, everybody's like, wait a minute now, not you, Justin Tucker. So aside from that, also, that Ravens special teams had a bad night last night. And it was something I picked up a little bit early. There was a lot of big returns from the New York Jets. Now, Brant Boyer, the New York Jets special teams coach, was the assistant special teams coach for the Indianapolis Colts. He was also a special teamer in the NFL for like 13 years. He was a wedge buster for 13 years before the rules changed, right, where there was still four guys. He was just throwing his head into humans for 13 years. Yes, savage of a man. Hilarious human, great special teams coach. He's doing well with the New York Jets special teams. You can talk about the New York Jets being terrible from top to bottom, their entire organization. Their special teams is normally pretty good. Had a Pro Bowler last year. I mean, it's just one of those things. But the Ravens special teams did not look as dominant last night as they had in weeks past. Now, is that because it was a short week? Is that because they knew the Jets were terrible? Possibly. They're humans. They can take the night off. But I think that is something that could reset them going forward, because when that team is humming in all three phases, they are going to be very difficult to stop. Last night, Lamar Jackson missed a couple throws that he doesn't normally miss, right? He was a little high on a couple. He was a little bit outside on a couple. Some came out wobbly to the side. And it was almost like surprising. I'm like, oh, Lamar Jackson doesn't miss passes normally. And that is a huge compliment to Lamar Jackson. Now, when you're only throwing it 20, 25 times, whenever you have a miss, it's going to be magnified. But that offense last night was not perfect. It was not their best showing, and they still won by 21 against another team that is paid to play football. That Ravens team is so fun to watch. Lamar Jackson, he beat Michael Vick's rushing record, which I would assume. Well, hello there. Utilize the promo code PAYTHEBILLS and get $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. Now, back to the magic. Whenever Michael Vick got this record, the humans were like, this will never be touched. Sure. This rushing record will never, ever be touched. Michael Vick was the most freak athlete to ever come into the NFL when he came in. Changed the game, changed the position, and even by his own self-admission, didn't watch enough film, had no idea what was going on, basically, was just going out there out-athleting everybody. And whenever he had that rushing record, I would assume people were like, this is a record that is never going to be touched. And here we are with games left in the season, and Lamar Jackson just walks right through it, takes a big shot, and he's only going to pad it on top of that. Lamar Jackson is not only a superstar off the field, and not only a superstar on the field that has captivated a lot of humans, but at the end of that game, where he has to have 9 jerseys to sign for opposing team players, that is magical. I mean, there's been a lot of OG football players tweeting like, what is this? Because whenever you swap jerseys, it's supposed to be game-worn jerseys. It's supposed to mean something. Instead, it became an autograph sign for Lamar Jackson, which I can appreciate and respect the fact that Lamar said to his equipment guys, like, hey, after every single game, I got like 10 people asking, is there any way you guys could bring out some extra jerseys that I didn't wear so I could sign for these people? Because Lamar's trying to do things the right way, right? Lamar's trying to be different than superstars of the past. Lamar, in interviews, he's very humble. And with his teammates, he makes people laugh. In post-game, he's not taking himself too serious. And the fact that he's willing to sign 9, 10 jerseys for opposing team players, like hey, fans, please form a straight line, right? Now remember, these are professional athletes that are lining up in a straight line to get autographs from a guy. He's changing the game. He's changing the culture, and everything that he does is magical. Even though he didn't have his best night last night, he missed a couple balls that he doesn't normally miss. They still win by 21. We still cover the over 44.5 plus or minus 14.5, plus 200 bet I made with FanDuel, which was awesome for me, good for me, but and for anybody else that made that bet. But it's just it's fun to watch that Baltimore Ravens team. They're must-see television. and I can't wait to see who can get them stopped in the future.
People talk about how Kyle Shanahan and the Niners running game is so much different than everyone else's. They do so many different things. The Ravens is on a completely different level. Last night they had the read option in the backfield, and then they motioned a wide receiver so that he would be a lead blocker, and then they pulled a tight end off of the read option. So Lamar had 2 blockers in front of him. And
then that tight end gets an easy cut block on a linebacker that's trying to scrape over top. It's like you got it.
There's so much happening.
Oh, so much happening. And when you have 3 very dynamic tight ends, now granted in the pass game it helps because the tight end is closer to your quarterback, so it's an easier pass. Now, Troy Aikman sounded a little bit like a hater last night. I mean, Troy Aikman was like, very easy passes to complete here, very easy passes here. There, it's like, well, I guess every pass is considered easy in the NFL if you draw up schemes where the defense is scared to death that the quarterback is going to run it all over you. Lamar Jackson makes it easier because of how dynamic he is, and you're 100% right. That Greg Roman offense, it's. I like to think of him just like I think of Andy Reid with like a dry erase board. He's like, okay, what can we do? All right, we got one of the fastest wide receivers in the game. Yeah, let's just send him deep. They have to cover for that. And if they don't, we'll just drop it in the bucket to him, and they'll have to pass interfere or something like that. All right, so we got that done. That takes it like 2 guys out, probably safety in the corner. They're gone. All right, what do we got? We got 3 tight ends. Let's just drop. They'll just run all over the place. And what do? They don't have enough people to keep up. The defense doesn't have enough people to keep up because what everybody says is when your quarterback's a running back, it's 11 on 11. It's 11 on 11. That's what it is. You no longer have to account for the quarterback not being a part of the play and handing off where it's 11 on 10. Instead, it's now man on man, who's going to win, and they have been winning more often, way more often than not. And it's a blast. And I will say this. This is what I said people aren't going to expect. They lost by 21. Sam Darnold threw a terrible interception in the red zone there at the end of the half, which could have really maybe sparked something for him. I don't know. Could have kept him in it, made him look. I thought the Jets looked better than I thought they were going to look. And how bad. They were down like 28 at one point, and I was like, this team doesn't look that god-awful, by the way. They just obviously have organizational failure that they're never going to succeed. But Sam Darnold looked better than I thought he was going to look. He threw the ball better than I thought he could. Now, we don't, out here in America, we don't get to watch the Jets as regular as, because if a New York team's going to be on TV, it's going to be the Giants because they're in the NFC East. So we don't get to see the Jets as much. So whenever people are like, Darnold's going to be good, I'm like, well, every time I see him, he sees ghosts and then he throws incompletions and stuff like that. I thought they looked better. Then I thought they were a dumpster fire Cincinnati Bengal, Washington Redskin-like team. They're obviously a little bit better than that, but man, even then they couldn't touch.